What's up, everybody? We're back with Sold Separately. We're talking about bendy figures, LJNs, old school nostalgia, pro wrestling collectibles like you've never seen them talked about before. And of course, I've got my good friend, Anthony Ricciardi, hanging out with me. What's going on?
I'm doing all right. As of this recording, last night I was at the ECW 2300 NXT show, which was awesome to be at.
Love it.
Tonight we are covering some of the big rubber guys, major bendies that Cardona and Myers put out. I thought it was fitting, especially the first one that we're showing, Chris Bay. As of this recording, nobody really knows. Apparently, he had a very serious injury. There've been a number of GoFundMe's put up. This is one of them. It was kind of one of those moments last night when I was in the ECW arena. March, I was there for a TNA taping, and I don't think I told you this, Clark. During one of the segments, ABC, Chris Bay, and Ace Austin finished their match, but they didn't get up the ramp because they were doing another segment. They literally sat on the floor right in front of me.
Oh, that's great.
So it was kind of weird being in the building, knowing what I know now with Chris's injury.
What has happened with Chris' injury? Yes.
But yeah, so this is a really cool thing that they're doing. Obviously, as you can see on the screen, 100% of the profits do go to Chris Bay's recovery. We don't know. His health is the number one priority. Whether or not we ever see him in the ring again is a side matter. But he is one of the best. He was one of the best, or is the best. One of those young talents. Him and Ace Austin. Honestly, I think ABC is probably the best young tag team in the business, and carried on the tradition that the Motor City Machine Gun set in TNA back in the day.
That to me, ABC just embodies what the Guns established there. And yes, we wish the absolute best for Chris Bay. This is one of those guys that's just a world-class talent. We know it. And he's not just a world-class talent, though. He's a world-class dude. And we've seen that in interviews and everything outside of that. We've also seen what he's given in the ring to entertain us. So definitely 100% of the profits go buy this one. And I understand that the show is called Sold Separately and that they're sold separately. But if you're going to go buy one figure we talk about and show you on the show, go buy this one. Go find it and go buy it because it's worth it. Monster shout out Chris Bay. To your point. I just wish the absolute best.
Oh, absolutely. All indications are from all the talent that have reached out since this all went down is that he is a genuinely good dude because that's not a common thing where somebody gets injured. You might hear some stuff, but like this is very much the entire industry has outpoured towards Chris Bay. And that tells you the impact he's made on this business in the time he's been in it.
100%.
The obviously the figure, it looks a great likeness to him. I'm not 100% familiar with the particular gear that they went with here, but it's a great representation.
To me, I don't even know if it matters so much as far as
no
and the detail. This is about something different when it comes to this figure. It's a great likeness. It's worth every dollar.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining about the gear. I just don't know what historically what that gear is from.
Represents.
Yes.
It might have been his choice. That would be the coolest thing, but who knows?
Oh, yeah.
That's reckless speculation there. Let's move along, though, not to move away from Chris Bay, because once again, 100% of the profits go buy this action figure.
Yes.
Sincerely, if you're a collector listening to the show, Chris Bay deserves it. We all deserve it as wrestling fans. Chris Bay is a legend, and we wish the absolute best in his recovery from just an absolute, brutal situation.
Yep.
When it comes to injuries like that. Let's talk about Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
Did not anticipate him being dressed as Sting. I'm kidding.
No, I mean it's kind of funny because Andre's had a lot of figures over the years, but I don't think he's ever had one in the Ultimate Warrior paint, which is kind of ironic considering the fact that it's common knowledge Andre was not a big fan of the Warrior,
Nope.
as Bobby Heenan talked about
Not friends at
during
all.
yeah,
He didn't
Bobby
even
Heenan.
like Macho Man.
Which the Macho Man one I didn't know about till it was on the special with the baby oil thing. That I didn't know. The Warrior one I had heard, but the Macho one I never did. But in all serious though, this is probably going to be the only time you're probably going to see the Andre with the Warrior paint. I don't see Mattel making it. And
Never happen
so
again.
so this is kind of one of those ones that like if you are a completionist of Andre or maybe a Warrior fan
Yes.
and want every piece of anything that related to Warrior, this is an ideal figure for that. And it's also a nostalgia piece for people that remember when he did do this.
Right.
But yeah,
It's as one of one as you can almost ask for.
yes,
Because you really won't see it again.
correct.
And I don't think we ever thought we'd see it, period.
Yeah, this is not a look of Andre that people would think this will get immortalized.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's great. And it's also Andre with the blue singlet, which we've seen it before, but most of the time, most people associate him with the black one from the
Outside of
WrestleMania 3.
WrestleMania 3, though, blue is the one that to me is the most memorable, and I find that fascinating.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that, like, I think if you ask somebody that wasn't around back then, and and you said, "So what was Andre's gear like?" Most of them would probably say black singlet because the Hogan WrestleMania 3 match has been replayed a billion times.
Also, I find it fascinating. The single strap singlet, I don't know if he gets credit for.
Yes.
Because we were seeing double strap singlets.
Oh, yeah.
Previous to that, all the way. And now it's just, but that's like the Andre singlet.
Oh, yeah.
The one strap.
Yeah, it's very Tarzan-esque. Yes.
Yes. I do find that fascinating, and I agree with you, especially with you get the navy blue, you get to me that's the Princess Bride look.
Yes,
Princess Bride.
Yes,
that's who he was, right? That's who Andre.
Yep.
Embodied. Then you add the Warrior paint. We know he didn't like Warrior.
Yeah,
we know they didn't get along. It's classic to me.
Yes.
Let's move along to speaking of classics.
Yes.
Oh, it's Dusty Bionic Elbows for everybody. I mean, I dig it. I dig it. And it's not polka dots. It's not polka dots. And that's what I like so much about it.
This is old Florida NWA Jim Crockett Promotions Dusty. This is the American Dream. This is a version of Dusty that is very beloved. We've seen Dusty have a lot of figures over the years. I think it's kind of a cool likeness. It reminds me, I think it's the same type of look that his statue that WWE did a number of years back.
I believe that's correct. I think it's about the same look as the statue.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me, though, is I will say, by comparison to the figure, the pose and the graphic looks closer to the statue with the placement of the fist and whatnot than the figure itself does.
I do like the fact they did do the birthmark, which I think Mattel has done, but it's like it's a very cool detail, and also the Dusty face on the figure reminds me of the 80s rock and wrestling cartoon. I believe Dusty was on that, but the face reminds me of very cartoonish, very 1980s ish, which is peak Dusty. So I think it's a very cool likeness and a very cool figure.
And I will say too, to add to that, when it comes to the birthmark, as a guy who's long been bald, that's why I wear hats on these shows.
Spoiler
has a birthmark on the back of his head, a big one. If they ever make a figure of me, I hope they get that one right. It's, I think it's a cool thing, right? Like a birthmark's a blessing. It means something about, How great of a mother you have.
I am fully waiting for when the WR figures, when we get scanned and that they have to do an extra session of scanning your head.
Yeah, that'll take some time.
Yeah.
That one's interesting equation, to
Yes.
say the least. Speaking of equations, though,
Yes.
we have a set of twins, and we're not even talking about the Usos.
Mhm.
Absolutely not. And we're not even talking about Dave.
Mhm.
Earl Hebner.
Yes. The world's most famous referee, due to controversy twice. Obviously, his first appearance, he was Dave's evil twin. That was what they sold to
Yeah,
people.
I was going to say, I'm like, there's an argument to be made that Dave's the guy.
Yeah, very much. Treehouse of Horror, Bart Simpson, his evil twin Bort. It's what it reminds me of.
Yes.
But
Bart Simpson.
Obviously, he's most famous for the Montreal Screwjob,
Right.
and he's a TNA Hall of Famer.
He wasn't wearing that. He was wearing zebra stripes during the screw job.
Yeah, but I believe that was the referee attire during the Evil Twin. I believe
it was during this is Evil Twin Earl.
Yes, and in all fairness, you could buy
technically if he bought two, it could be
two of
Dave.
them. Yeah, you have Dave and Earl. But yeah, I think this is the first time Earl's ever been made, which is kind of cool.
Yes.
But I don't think there's been too many referees that have been made.
I can't lie. I had the referee back when I was a kid that you could pull he had the little switch on his back to make him count.
Uh-huh.
And I always thought, like, this is Earl Hebner. They just didn't use the likeness
because they didn't have to pay.
Like they just made a guy
in
zebra stripes. I feel like I kind of got robbed as a child because I would have taken this Earl Hebner and just made him count.
Well, yeah, because he's got the hand
in
motion.
Matches that I was wrestling.
It's kind of funny to me, like the three referees that are most memorable to me. Earl's one of them.
Yeah.
Timmy White is the other.
Tim White.
Andre's assistant, best friend. And then the other one's got to be Little Nate, Charles Robinson. Those are the three that I think of most.
I do think of Kyoto.
Kyoto's another one.
Kyoto deserves a spot. Kyoto deserves a spot. There's a few others. We're thinking
Nick Patrick, the evil NWO
Nick
referee.
Patrick with the fast count. And then who am I blanking on? Jimmy Corderas.
Teddy Long was the ref before he became the GM.
Ted Long was a heck of a ref.
Yes.
He kept things copacetic.
Yeah.
In the ring. Teddy Long deserves more credit as a ref than he gets because he did an amazing job as a manager and he did an even better job as a GM.
Yeah.
But as a referee, Teddy Long kept stuff in check.
Yeah.
People didn't mess with Teddy Long.
Yeah.
Teddy got it going when it came to that, and I loved it. I'm 100% with you there. Let's talk about. Let's head to Chicago like I'm about to on a plane shortly here. What a rush.
These are very reminiscent of, and these were the ones that I had, and you may have had them too, Clark, the Bone Crusher 2-pack from back in the day. The pose is very similar to it. Obviously, in a previous episode, Clark and I covered the Zombie Sailor original NWA Legion of Doom in the black, and Clark asked about the red, which was only during their WWF run. But this is an iconic look, and obviously it comes with the removable shoulder pads. I think if you're looking for a representation of this, the early 90s WWF Road Warriors, this is it. This is a great thing to have on a shelf or something.
The pose is dead perfect.
Especially, I love the Hulk.
Shoulder pads are perfect. I actually think the animal pose is genius. I think a lot of people forget there was always a debate when it came to the Road Warriors about Hawk and Animal. Yeah. And they did never split. There was no Dudley storyline. There's no for those few minutes. There was no extra anything.
Well,
Kind of for a second because you had the.
Well, here's the thing, and I don't want to go long with this, but there was a falling out between them. Hawk
Right.
went to
No, but
Japan
that's
and stuff like that.
personal. It
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
play
yeah, yeah.
out on
Oh,
TV.
TV, yeah. They just did the draws
That's
thing.
what
That
I
was the
mean.
only thing that's ever
It
done on TV.
never played out on TV. It was
Yeah.
only the draws instance.
Yeah. Yeah.
This to me is the representation. This is the Road Warriors I remember. This is the LOD. This is the. There's a reason they call a big pop for an entrance a Road Warriors
Or a
pop.
pop. Absolutely.
All you had to do was hit the music.
Yep.
These were the two baddest mother flippers in the business, in the aquarium. Sorry, that's why I said flippers. See,
Yeah.
they're semen. But
the only thing that I would say is I am not too familiar with Animal's face paint with the yellow and black. I would have.
That is, if you go back and watch some 80s footage, that is very much early days Road Warriors.
Okay,
paint.
gotcha.
It's very early days because the paint became progressively more matching.
Yeah.
As the business got more corporate.
Yeah.
You can almost check it by the date.
Yeah.
As it goes, if that makes sense.
Yep.
It was more unique in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like between Hawk and Animal. I can attest to that one.
Yes.
And it just got progressively more matching.
Yeah.
As it moved along.
Yep.
But speaking of moving along,
yes.
Let's talk about another tag team. The Rock and Roll Express. They're not the Midnight, so don't you add us, Jim Cornette.
Listen, I love these only because, this is one of the most iconic tag teams. They've not had a lot of figures. This might be the only ones. I love the fact that they went the extra step to get them the NWA titles to come with them. Yes. I think this is probably one of the coolest sets I've seen. Figure, rubber, doesn't matter. This is just so a picture in time of these two guys. And I think it's so iconic.
To me, and I'm so in agreement, the belts make this set.
Yes.
But the other part that makes the set is we still hear about Ricky Morton. Honestly, like in the business we're in, covering pro wrestling often.
Because his son's wrestling now.
To see a Robert Gibson figure that is this quality, holding an NWA tag title.
Yep.
Is so cool in my lifetime.
Absolutely.
Guys, that pulls on every nostalgia heartstring that I have.
Yep.
And that's no knock on Ricky Morton. They are the Rock and Roll Express for a reason. It's a team.
Yep.
I just love everything about this.
Yep.
Tickled me when I first saw it. Like, it's just golden.
Yep.
Everything. Okay, let's move on though to Bully Ray.
Yeah. This is great. I mean, obviously he was there last night as Bubba Ray. But I have to say this is the first, as far as I know, Bully Ray figure. I believe there were micro brawlers, but as far as bigger size, I believe this is the first Bully Ray. And I gotta tell you, it's a great face likeness because he looks pissed, and we know Bully is always pissed. So I think this is just a great representation of the Bully Ray character.
I think it's as good looking of a figure as possible. I think there's been a lot of great Bully Ray figures. Don't get me wrong. Over the years, Bubba Ray, Bully Ray, no matter the iteration, there's been a lot of great figures. This one is rock solid. I will say, when it comes to the 5150 gear, I've always been curious. I want to understand the significance of 5150 on that. I've never understood why 5150 in particular.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that's like, that's mandatory work in the psych ward.
Yeah.
And does that mean after you face me, or does that mean I've been there? What does that mean? I've never understood that. That's outside of the realm of collecting figures, but
they are questions that we're not going to have answers to tonight.
Yeah, they won't be answered tonight, but I do. Yeah. I've always been curious about that. Absolutely. I do love this figure though. It's a gorgeous likeness. It's awesome. And the majors, the major bendies know what they're doing.
Yep.
And of
And the
course, they're
last
gonna
one.
get their own.
Yeah. This is obviously the Macho King type version that Cardona was going for, the King of Hardcore. Obviously he's wearing his version of the Macho King crown. I don't know when this one goes up. I think it was shown at a convention. But Cardona's had a lot of figures. Great likeness, obviously, considering it's his own. And it's their own company, and obviously the tongue sticking out, which we've covered with Macho Man, and we don't really recall Macho doing it a lot, but Cardona's done it a lot. Like I said, I think it's a great likeness. It's a unique gear. Cardona is very much cognizant of the fact that the more gear you have, the more toys can be made of you. So, as a collector, or the Michael Jordan of wrestling figure collecting, or as he calls himself, it makes sense that this is what he would do.
He's the MJ of wrestling figure collectors. Yeah, I mean, listen, everything he does when it comes to gear and figures makes sense. You gotta respect it. We respect you, Matt Cardona. Shout out, absolutely, no doubt about it. But I mean, yeah, it is just another unique gear, unique figure of Matt Cardona. And so I will say, Anthony, with that, I think that brings us to the end of the show.
Yeah, he also does come with one of his internet championships, it looks like.
He does
as well. Yep.
You're gonna get an international internet championship. Internet championship. You're gonna get a championship. It looks like you're gonna get a title, at least as far as the floor is concerned, on this. But on behalf of me and Anthony and everybody at WR, thank you so much for tuning in. Check out Sold Separately. We got more episodes coming up, and thank you for everything. We will talk to y'all soon.